to always make sure to look at only holy things and to not look at not holy things. Let's go into here. Okay. So if you have your Gemara art scroll over here, good morning, Rebbe Shmuel, Shalom Aleichem. Thank you for joining.
The vision, you say? Or?
We are in 28A2. Second column near the end of the column. 28A2 if you have your art scroll. We have several more over here. We're in the middle of listing off different rabbis, different great people throughout the times of the Amoraim and Tanoim, asking what was their secret to a long life. And every one of them, Reb Zera, or whoever it was, Reb Nechunya ben Akana, Reb Lazar ben Shemua, Reb Preda, Reb Lazar ben Shemua, each one had their own reason, their own secret why they lived a long life. And each one was connected. They had patience for others, so therefore Hashem had patience with them. They never got upset. Hashem never got upset with them. We're in the middle of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Sha'al Rebbe is Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. I'll look further up this page. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, in what merit have you lived a long life? Amar lo, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha answered him, Katzta v'chayai, do you begrudge my longevity? I should spill my secrets. Maybe someone will make a ayin hara. Do you begrudge my life? Why are you asking? Amar lo, he answered him back, Rebbe, my teacher. Toirahi v'lumad ani tzarich. The fact that you live so long, you are able to learn a lot of Torah, and it's important for me to learn as much Torah from you as possible. So I want to make sure you live as long of a life as possible. And also, I should act the same way, that I should also live a long life, as Rashi explains. Amar Loi, so now Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha answered him back. Miyamai lo niskalti b'demus adam rasha. Throughout my life, I have never looked at the face or gazed at the face of a wicked person. He might have seen them in a fleeting glance, but he never actually gazed at them. Rabbi Lazar from Milan, Italy, father of Rabbi Lazar from Russia, still Baruch Hashem, alive and well. He, as a young child, he grew up in Vienna, and he saw Hitler twice, I think, at parades. Later on, they managed to come to the U.S., and they lived in Williamsburg at the very, very end of Williamsburg, near the river. And it was a block away from the Brooklyn Navy Yard. He used to play on the street, and he was the only Jewish boy on his block, and he used to play with all the Italian boys. And he used to wear a yarmulke, no problem, like no embarrassment, no shame. And they would always go by on the way to work, a man in the big black beard on the way to the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And whenever he would see him, he would give him like a big smile and a big pat on his head that he's wearing a yarmulke on the street. Later on, he found out that was a Rebbe on the way to the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Mr. Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar from Milan, Italy. He's the father of Rabbi Lazar from Russia. Rabbi Lazar married to Darren, their father. I never looked at the face of a Russia. I never gazed strongly upon it. I might have seen it in a glancing way. The Rabbi Yochanan for Rabbi Yochanan says, Asr la'adam listakel b'demus adam Russia. A person is not allowed to gaze strongly at the likeness of a wicked person. Shnemer, as it says, Lule Pnei Shafat Melech Yehuda, Ani Noisei. Elisha was a prophet of Hashem. Shaphat was the king of the two tribes of Yehuda and Binyamin, and most of Shevet Levi. the king of Yisrael, his name was Yehoram, and he was a big Russia, a big evil person, an evildoer, a sinner. And together they made a partnership together. They went to make a war against Aram. Against Moav. And they got an ally, a very unlikely ally, Edom, which is the descendants of Esav, to go fight against Moav. And the entire army was traveling in the desert for 7 days, and there was not enough water for the soldiers, not enough water for the animals that were part of the army. So they asked Elisha the prophet, Elisha the Navi. Now Yehoram wanted to ask the prophets of idol worship, of the idols, and Yehoshaphat, the king of Yehuda, who was a tzaddik, he wanted to ask a Navi of Hashem, a prophet of God, and to keep the alliance, Yehoram agreed to ask a prophet of God. And when Elisha came in front of the two kings, he told them, I don't want to look at Yehoram's face. I don't want to see him. I'm only going to answer and talk to you out of respect for Yehoshaphat, the king of Yehuda, who's a tremendous tzaddik. So from there we see it's a source that you're not allowed to look at the face of an evil person, of a wicked person, which we went through this before Shavuos. Very important what you look at. Don't look at the a terrorist, and the news might want to show it to you over and over again. But it makes a effect on the person, and it's
Rabbi, what about like in history books, and they got pictures of Hitler and Goebbels and all them?
So you could see it, but it says listakil, don't gaze upon it, meaning don't give him more than a fleeting glance.
Okay.
If there's somebody who's a historian, maybe it's a little bit of a different story. They could do it for their livelihood, and they'll take whatever comes with it. But it says you should not look. It's actually brought down the halacha. A person should not look at the face of a rasha. And it says even more than that. Even any idol worshiper, a person who serves idols, you should not look at their face either. That's only if you're looking at them, at length. If you're seeing them, it's fine. You say, wow, he's so strong. He could he could bench 280, 250. He's 5 foot. He's 6'4". That's called looking at them strongly. He was such a great speaker, someone with a lot of drama. All that is called looking strongly at the face of a rasha.
On the positive side, there is an Indian to look at the face of a tzaddik.
Shkoyach, yeah, we have a whole topic on that today. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs open about that. And so another thing we see, another reason, since Erevin, Daf Gimel, Amud Beis, it just took me to the top of the page, but it's more in the middle of the page over here. Mechadadan. Where is it? Further down on the page. Ravina says, it was Ravina. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, the reason why I am wiser. Let's just find it. Here it is. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, this that I am more incisive, I'm wiser than all of my colleagues. Because when Rameir, his teacher, would teach, student of Rebbe Kiva, and sat in a circle, he sat in the back of Rameir. And if I would have only seen his face, sat in front of him, I would have been even wiser than I already am. Interesting, my grandfather and father's father, by the Rebbe's Ringens, he had a spot right in front of the table, right in front of the Rebbe. Later on, he was an elder chassid already, and he was one of the eldest chassidim around. They offered him a place behind the Rebbe, where all the elder chassidim sat, and he said, I want to see the Rebbe's face. I don't want to see the back. Like it says, your face your eyes shall see your teacher. Seeing your teacher, seeing a tzaddik, does help a person. Let's continue in the Gemara. The Gemara will now bring several sources how you're not allowed to look at the face of a rasha, the face of an evildoer. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, "Asur la'adam listakel b'tselem demus adam rasha." The first source was from Yeshafat. Rabbi Lezer says, "Ein of kayis." One who gazes at an evil person, he loses his eyesight. His eyesight. Shenemar, as it states, Vayihi kizakin. The last words in 28:8-2 in the Art Scroll. Vayihi kizakin Yitzchak. And it came to pass when Yitzchak became old, Vatichena einav me'os. So the verse I brought up on the screen, show Rashi. This is when Yitzchak became old. He was then 123 years old, and he lost his eyesight. And he decided to call his son Esav and give him the blessings, and ended up being that Yaakov stole the brachas, took the blessings from Esav. He was blind. Why was he blind? Says the Gemara, Mishum distakel be'esav arasha. He became blind because he gazed at the wicked Esav. Because he looked at Esav, and Esav was a wicked man, evildoer, a murderer, killed people. He stole other people's wives, and many other sins that he did. And because of that, because Yitzchak looked at Esav, that's why he lost his eyesight. And asks the Gemara, is that the reason why he lost his eyesight? V'gamarle, did this really cause a blindness of Yitzchak? We have a different reason why we have a different reason given why Yitzchak became blind when he's old. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, didn't Rabbi Yitzchak say, "La'olam alti kilas hedyet kal beinecha"? We had this earlier. A bracha, a blessing of a simple person, should always be precious in your eyes. First of all, you never know who this person really is. He might be one of the hidden greats, hidden saints of the generation. And even if you're for sure, you know that he's not one of, but the bracha from another Jew carries with it a lot of weight. And not just that, he says, on the converse, Rabbi Yitzchak says, the curse from a simpleton should also not be lightly regarded in your eyes. Shaharei, for we see, Avimelech kilul Sarah v'niskayim. Avimelech was the king of Philistines. And yes, Palestinians have no connection. Just literally took the name because they've been long extinct for several thousand years. But they are from the same, cut of cloth, always trying to make trouble for the Jewish nation. So Avimelech was a king of the Plishtim, and he abducted Sarah because Avram went to travel to Gerar, and he thought that Sarah is single. Avram said, Sarah is my sister, because he was scared. When he came into the city, everyone's asking him, is she your wife or is she your sister? Instead of asking, do you have where to stay? Do you have where to eat? What are you doing here? And so he said, this is my sister. He was scared they might kill him. And Avimelech was abducted by Sarah. Avimelech wanted to marry Sarah as one of his wives. And a malach, an angel, came and saved Sarah, didn't let Avimelech come close to her. Afterwards, Hashem came to Avimelech in a dream and told him, you and your household will die because you abducted a married woman, Sarah. And he went back to Avram and says, Avram, how could he have done such a thing? How could he have lied to me? And he wanted that Avram should pray for him. Avram, because him and his entire household had a malady, they couldn't go to the bathroom. And so he told them, please pray for me. And he gave them many, many gifts. He gave him tzoy, new bucker, cattle, and flocks, and servants, and he gave them to Avram, and he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. And Sarah Amar, and he told Sarah, behold, I've given 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother, which is Avram Avinu. He called him a brother because Sarah was Avram Avinu's niece, so they're almost like brother and sister. And he says the words, Hinehu lach ksus einayim. This should be a covering of your eyes. Ksus einayim means this literally should blind you from looking at my past transgressions. And let me give you this gift. And now you give a gift of flowers, and now all is forgiven. So to Avram Avinu, you have to give a little more than flowers. You have to give 1,000 pieces of silver and sheep and cattle. And let this be a present, and all should be forgiven. These should be for you a covering of your eyes. It says, explains the Gemara, ksus einayim means it should cover your eyes, that you shouldn't see the past transgressions. Avimelech, being the conniver that he always was actually inserting a curse into it, that you should both become blind. You, Avram and Sarah, should both become blind. Because you led me in a blind way, meaning because you didn't tell me who Sarah really was, you should become blind as well. Yes. At the beginning, the top of 28.3, the first paragraph. Says the Gemara, Avimelech cursed Sarah, Niskayim bezara, and it was fulfilled in Sarah's descendants, that is Yitzchak and her son. Shnemar, as it states, Hinehu lach ksus einayim. Let this be, all these gifts, a covering for your eyes. Al tikar ksus, don't say a garment for the eyes, al ksias, a covering, meaning that your eyes should become dimmed. You shouldn't be able to see. And this curse was fulfilled in Yitzchak. So we see that Yitzchak's poor eyesight was not caused by looking on Esav, like Rebbe Lazar said, but rather Yitzchak's poor eyesight was due to Avimelech's curse. Now, even Avimelech, someone who was not Jewish, not a tzaddik by any means of the stretch of the imagination, and he gave a curse, and it was not fulfilled by Sarah, but fulfilled by Avram, but fulfilled by their descendants, by Yitzchak. So therefore, a person should always be careful with their words, not to curse anyone, not to say something negative.
To take away from the important interpretations and words.
Yeah.
But wouldn't a simple explanation of his blindness be because he's old?
Because he's old. So, correct. What we see by all the fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that even when they were very old, they were very, very strong. They're very healthy. Avram, when he was about that age, made a war with kings. Yaakov was able to move by himself a big rock. He had wars with different families in Shem. So we see even Moshe Rabbeinu, many generations later, was very, very strong at the age of 120. So we see that they were very strong people physically, very healthy people. So the fact that he was blind had to be for a reason, something else. Well, what caused it? We say this is what caused it. There's other reasons given. It says Esav's wives used to burn incense to their idols, to their deities, and that the smoke of the idol worship, that's what made Yitzchak blind. If you look at the Rashi over here, he gives a different reason, right? Rashi, zoom in a little bit on this page. So that Rashi right over here, when he says Yitzchak became blind, one says because of the smoke of the wives of Esav, and the other explanation is during the when Yitzchak was bound on the Mizbeach, on the altar, and his father was about to shech him, about to slaughter him, the heavens opened up, and the malachim, the angels in heaven, cried, and the tears went into Yitzchak's eyes, and that's what caused him blindness. The third reason is that Yaakov should be able to take the blessings, and I mean the Rebbe explains why that's the last explanation, because Hashem couldn't find a different way to give the blessings to Yaakov at just making Yitzchak blind, lived to be 180. Here he's 123, and for almost 60 years he's blind, and he's homebound. And someone who's blind doesn't have to keep all the mitzvahs, and it's like they're not alive in many ways. They didn't have any audio books back then. They didn't have, before the Helen Keller days, and Hashem couldn't find a different way to make give the blessings. That's why it's the last explanation. But at any rate, Yitzchak was 37 during the binding, during the Akedas Yitzchak, and he became blind at 123. So what manifested, what made it come out at this age? That's why we have all these different things. So back to our Gemara. So our Gemara first said that the fact that Esav was looking, the fact that Yitzchak was looking at his son Esav is what caused him to be blind. Question is, why was Yitzchak looking at Esav if he knows he's a Rasha? The answer is, if you remember very well, the first Rashi in Parshas first Aliyah, there's a Rashi which says that Yitzchak used to trap his father with his words, asking him, how do you give meiser, how do you give a tenth from salt and from shra, things that you don't have to give meiser from. He wants to show how he's stringent. Do I have to give according to its value? Do I give according to its own value, or when it's used in a dish? So he thought that he's a medaktik, that he's someone who does mitzvahs. And only after the fact did he find out that he's not a tzaddik.
Did you mention about the incense?
Yeah, I think we mentioned the Rashi brought about the incense of the sons of Esav. Now it's very unique. If you would think to yourself, someone like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, when did he have a chance to meet a evildoer, a Rasha? So whenever anybody comes to a din, a judgment, a din Torah, in front of a dayan, in front of a judge, the judge has to see them, is to know who is who. And it says when they are both standing in front of you, they are considered to be a Rasha, both wicked, and afterwards they're both clean, they're both innocent. So at that moment, he would not even look strongly at the plaintiff standing in front of him. Also, he says, you not even look at a picture of a Rasha, someone like a picture, a drawing. You walk down, you see a statue of Emperor Nero or all these wicked people, and you wouldn't even look at that. Why should you not look at an evil person, at a wicked person? The Marsha says it's included in the prohibition of not to look at any idol worship. You're not allowed to look at the beautiful architecture of a church, anything like that, because it's part of the Torah. Says not to go after your eyes. And everything, the Reishis Chachma says, everything has an effect on the person. As we're going to have very shortly in the Gemara, you see how things have a very big effect on a person. Answers the Gemara, two things, this and that together, cause the blindness of Yitzchak. Also, like Rabbi Lazar says, that since Yitzchak looked at his son Esav, the Rasha, that's why he became blind. And also it was a curse of Avimelech. The two of them together. Why do you need both reasons together? Why is one not sufficient? Because if you remember, Sarah was also cursed by Avimelech, like she should become blind. And she never became blind. So just the merit of one without the other, just the one reason without the other would not be sufficient for Yitzchak to become blind. The curse of Avimelech was a simpleton. He wasn't a holy person. So his curse itself will not be able to have an effect on someone as great as Yitzchak, who's a complete tzaddik. It will only have an effect together with a secondary thing when he saw Esav. And that's why we see also Sarah was also cursed by Avimelech, never became blind, because she passed away before Esav was born. Her schus was very powerful. Now the curse of Avimelech could have been fulfilled in an easy way, says a Ben Ish Chai. Maybe one eye would become blind and he could see from the other eye. Just because someone is angry at someone and curses them, they should be punished. So maybe it would take place in not a complete type of way. But since Yitzchak became blind in two eyes, we must say that there's two reasons. The fact that the Torah mentioned the curse of Avimelech means that it had some type of effect, the fact that it mentions it, and teach you that you should never curse anybody, and if someone curses, you should take it, don't take it with a grain of salt. And also, Yitzchak would not have been completely blind, it only would have been a partial blindness if not for the curse of, if not for the fact that he saw Esav. Rava Amar Mirhacha, Rava gives a different source why you should not look at an evil person. It says in Mishlei, Se'es Pnei Rasha Loitov. It is not good to raise the face of the wicked. The source, what is it? Se'es Pnei Rasha. It's not good to raise a face. What does it mean to raise a face of the wicked? Where do you see? I understand it says don't look at the face of a wicked, meaning don't raise the face, don't look at the face of a wicked. Where does it say about becoming blind in this verse? How do you know that someone who looks at a Rasha, their eyes become weak? So there's two different, we give two different answers. On the one hand, it says in Chumash Devarim, Hashem says, I'm giving you Chaim and Tov, life and good, Mavis Ra, death and evil. So evil is associated with death, and Suma Chasher Kimes. So one who is blind is considered to be like someone who passed away. So that's what it means, Lo Tov. Or a blind person does not have to keep any mitzvahs. So from here is a source. He says that a wicked person, an evil person, se'es means to gaze, and so don't gaze at the Rasha. And if you gaze at the Rasha, it could, in effect, have an effect on your own gazing, on your own sight. We'll just do the next piece of Gemara, just because it's connected to this topic. It's 11:37 already. So we'll continue the Gemara from here tomorrow, but this is connected to the topic of not looking at the face of a Rasha. So we brought up these several sources about how important it is to look at the face of a tzaddik, face of a Rasha. But on the other hand, looking at the face of a tzaddik is a tremendously positive and a tremendously good thing. As we saw previously from the Gemara Mesechta Megillah Daf Gimel, that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, I looked at her mayor and from the back, and that's why I was so wise. That's why I became so smart. So we see that it is a very good thing to look at the face of a tzaddik. It's called Tzir Pnei Harav. The term Tzir Pnei Harav, envisioning the face of a tzaddik, it's a source that's brought down in, these words are already brought down in the Gemara. And brought down several different sources, different things about it. It's two things. There's when a tzaddik looks at the person, it makes an effect on the person for the good. And when someone looks at a tzaddik, it could have a tremendous effect on the person. So here, you can see his actual Ksav Yad Kodesh, is actual handwriting of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe writes to a woman who is going through many difficulties and hardships. And here the Rebbe writes to her, and more. You should gaze at a photograph. This is in the year after the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And she says she has no one, she feels as she has no one, she used to write to the Frierdiker Rebbe, she has no one to talk to now. And the Rebbe writes to her, look at a picture of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Whenever you feel that your positive willpower is weakening, v'tiskar, and you remember that he is a true shepherd of the Jewish people. Mistakil ba b'shazu. In turn, he is gazing at you at this time as well. The yoyel hanal will help you with all the above mentioned challenges. So, looking at the picture of a tzaddik could help a person as well. So it's very special to have a picture of a tzaddik in your house. There's another, is it this one? Here is another one. This is Chaf Aleph Teves Tafshin Yud Aleph, 1950, maybe 1951 already. There was a member of, or somebody who's writing to the Rebbe. His daughter, the Rebbe didn't yet officially accept the leadership. He says his daughter cannot sleep at night, and every night she's crying hysterically. What should she do? The Rebbe says, now I received your letter, and this that you're writing about your daughter's sleep. First of all, check all the mezuzahs in your house. And she should also have next to her bed, before she goes to sleep, she should have a picture of the Rebbe, of Frierdiker Rebbe, next to her bed. And she should look at it before going to sleep. And even after she starts going to sleep, normally better, she should still continue doing this. And the Rebbe says, I'll mention it by the oil. I'll mention...
Even if she's sleeping?
No, meaning even after she is no longer staying up at nights, meaning she's stopping crying hysterically. Even after she's better, she should still continue doing it. Even for a few more nights, even after that. It's known it's printed in Atamim, when the famous drawing we have of the Alter Rebbe when he was in prison. So I'm sure almost everybody knows it. So this drawing of the Alter Rebbe was drawn when he was in the Peter Paul Fortress by the prison artist. And when the Tzemach Tzedek, when he was summoned in 1843, he was summoned to Pittsburgh for a conference called by the Russian government of rabbis. They wanted to make changes in Yiddishkeit and education. And the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek was there, and he found out that one of the ministers had a drawing said to be a drawing of the Alter Rebbe. Said to be a drawing of the Alter Rebbe. The Tzemach Tzedek became very friendly with some of the other ministers. Not everyone was against him. He became friendly with some ministers, and one of them said, I have a friend, a minister, who has a very big art collection, very, very big art gallery. And over there, I saw a picture of a rabbi. Maybe you want to see it. And Tzemach Tzedek arranged that he should go to see this gallery. And he saw the drawing of the Alter Rebbe. And he asked him if he could buy it off him. And he says, absolutely not. This is everything is very precious. And there was only one time, for a tremendous amount of money, he allowed them to bring this drawing to Lubavitch for 1 month. And they brought it back afterwards. And he didn't let them copy it. But every single day during that month, the Tzemach Tzedek would go into a room with a drawing of the Alter Rebbe, look at it, lock the door, but people could hear him sing Alter Rebbe's Niggin or Nigunim, and Tzemach Tzedek grew up with the Alter Rebbe. What's the specialty of looking at a Tzir Pnei Rav, the face of a tzaddik? See, is this one we've done already. So it's very interesting. The Rebbe, in the early years of his leadership, was the Rebbe did not want pictures taken of him. Pictures were always looked at as davar chitzoni, an external thing that people didn't want to look at. There was a very big chassid, I'm trying to remember his name, one of the great chassidim, that he never looked at a mirror in his life. Because it's an external thing, and somebody took a picture of him once and showed him a paragraph. He says, you see this person, what do you say about him? He looked at him, he said, this looks like a really a real pious, real person who really works on themselves, a real Chassidish person. Pictures are always considered to be an external thing. And in general, if you want to, the Rebbe talks about the Mittler Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, the Maggid Mizrich, the Rambam. We don't have pictures of any of them. We don't have any drawings of any of them, right? We don't even have drawings of people who know what they look like, right? The Rambam people, several hundred years after he died, is someone who made a drawing of the Rambam, for a statue of the Rambam for the first time, and they made it in Muslim style, without payas, without in a turban, wearing robes like a Muslim scholar. And it's explained that you don't need a picture if you want to get to know who a tzaddik is. So who the Rambam is, learn the Rambam. You want to get to know who the Mittel Rebbe is, who the Magadim is rich, learn the Torah. Baal Shem Tov, learn the Chassidus, and you'll get to know the Baal Shem Tov. So where is a specialty of pictures? And later on, the Rebbe would actually poster pictures, and they wanted to publish pictures. And the Rebbe would say to choose which pictures it was. In the early years of the Rebbe's leadership, the Rebbe would put his hand in front of if the camera was facing him. They shouldn't look. Not the poster pictures. So where did this about face come exactly? It's very. When the Rebbe was Masad Kedushin, would go to a chuppah, there was at one point the Rebbe made a condition that's only one picture allowed to be taken of the Rebbe under the chuppah. That was a condition. Because he wants it, the Rebbe said, because his focus should not be on the pictures, and the Rebbe, the focus should be on the Chassan and the Kala, on the building of Bayis B'Yisrael, the brachas that are coming down from Hashem. Reb Moshe Marazov, when he heard the Rebbe said this, he went even one more. He had no photographer at his wedding whatsoever. And the Rebbe was Masada Kedushin. So what changed exactly? So when the Frierdiker Rebbe left Russia, he had to leave, he was forced to leave. And the Frierdiker Rebbe left pictures of him behind for Chassidim. And when the Benjamin Simcha Gorodetsky, he was arrested in Samarkand, him and 10 other people, they're all Bukhari Yidden, who is Menkarev, they all became Chassidim. And they're arrested, they're all sentenced to death. And the prosecutor in court said, in every one of these people's houses, we found their weapons that they're using. We found this and this, a picture of the Rebbe, a picture of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and a Tanya. We found these in each one of their houses. A Rebbe is a Rosh Alpha Yisrael. And later on, all their sentences were commuted. Baruch Hashem, with tremendous suffering, with tremendous miracles, he survived and he came out of Russia. If looking at a face of a tzaddik has an effect, even when it comes to learning, as we said before, and we brought a pasuk, your eyes should see your teacher. For sure, the face of a Rebbe who's an neshama klalius, who's a general neshama, the neshama of every single person of a generation, for sure has an effect. And where do we see the very first example of this in the Torah? By Yosef. Yosef, he was a slave, and his master's wife, Potiphar, right, grabbed him, and she tried to seduce him. And it says Yosef was ready to give in to her, and suddenly he saw the Musti Yuk Nishal Aviv. He saw Yaakov Avinu's face in front of him, and that stopped him. And Yaakov Avinu told him that your stone is going to be missing in the Choshen, and that was able to save him from a tremendous test that he was going through. It gave him the courage to withstand temptation. So in a similar way, looking at the face of a tzaddik, is also able to help a person. Like we saw these several answers of the Rebbe. It's very interesting. There were certain times, Fabrengens, the Rebbe would say, those who saw the Frierdiker Rebbe should close their eyes and envision the Frierdiker Rebbe. One another time, they're singing Niggun the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe said, all those who saw the Rebbe Rashab should close their eyes and envision the Rebbe Rashab. So there was one person was a bacher in Yulbavitch, and he's looking at and he didn't close his eyes, looking at the Rebbe. The Rebbe asked him, why aren't you saw the Rebbe Rashab? Why aren't you closing your eyes and thinking about the Rebbe Rashab? He says, I don't have to close my eyes and think of the Rebbe Rashab. I'm looking right in front of me, the Rebbe, which is the Rebbe Rashab. Of our times. Right? Hayom Yom says that Shmuel was asked, why is he so excitable? Why is he so passionate more than other students of the Maggid? And he says, because he saw the Baal Shem Tov when he was younger, and Baal Shem Tov put his holy hand on his heart. when the Frierdiker, there was one time a family from Chicago, and one of the sons went off the way of the Torah mitzvahs and wanted to marry a non-Jew. And the Rebbe asked, and the father came to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe asked, did they ever see the Frierdiker Rebbe? He said, no, we never came to New York. We never saw the Frierdiker Rebbe. But the Rebbe asked, where were they when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to visit? And he said, actually, when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to visit, they were part of the crowd in the train station. But the crowd was thousands of people in the train station. How could the Frierdiker Rebbe possibly have seen his son? And his son was a little boy, a little baby. So the Rebbe said, if my father-in-law, if the Frierdiker Rebbe saw him, then you don't have to, everything will turn out to be okay. So the looking at a tzaddik has a tremendous effect. We know for example, Mendel Futterfass was in prison in the gulags in Siberia, and in his mind he wanted to write a letter to the Rebbe, and he had no way, obviously, of doing it from there. And he went and he closed his eyes and he imagined all the preparations of writing a pan and going into Yechidus and imagine going to see the Rebbe. When the Bachrim Shluchim went to Australia, 1927.
Can I add something about that?
Sure.
My friend Boris Gorkin knew Mendel Futterfass, and they had a personal relationship because Boris was from Russia. And he said it was a birthday Yechidus, and Mendel Futterfass said he was going to go to the Rebbe for that Yechidus. And he went as far as he could to the barbed wire, and he stood there in that Yechidus, and that's in his mind had that Yechidus. And when he went to London, there was a letter waiting for him from the Rebbe, and saying, I received your messages, and this is your reply.
Right, yeah. I've seen the letter printed. Right, in Hatzvi-Bais, 1952. This is when he's in Siberia. Right, and he says, to Menachem Mendel Futterfass, right, I received your pan. A pan is kabel. I mean, it's a famous story with, but not for now, with Rabbi Darren from Stamford, Connecticut. A similar story with Rabbi Posner as well. And there's many anecdotes. There was someone who was, when it came to eating, the Rebbe said, hold the picture of the Frierdiker Rebbe by you during meal times. That will help you control yourself if on things that you're not supposed to look and not supposed to eat. So the idea of looking at the face of a tzaddik, it's able to have an effect on a person in a very, very positive way, in a very good way. Maybe I'll let this story off the record, but it's on the record. I know of a family in Eretz Yisrael. They live in the city in the south of Eretz Yisrael, and they did not have children for many years. And they wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said they should put up a picture of a tzaddik in their bedroom. Okay, they weren't chassidim, they weren't, so they didn't understand the subtle message behind it.
What was the problem?
They didn't have children. And so they put up a picture of one of the Kollel Yisrael, one of the Torah greats of contemporary periods, of a contemporary period. And they went by over a year and nothing happened. They didn't have any children. So they went to the Rav in Rehovot, Rabbi Lukowski, and he asked them, we asked this bracha from the Rebbe, and what did the Rebbe tell you? He said, put a picture of a tzaddik in your bedroom. He says, if you understand what that means, it means the Rebbe was saying to put a picture of the Rebbe up in your bedroom. And that's what again, it's a bedroom. It's not so easy to understand that, but that was an instruction of the Rebbe. And 9 months later, they had a child after they did that. Right. So definitely, the looking at a tzaddik has a tremendous help and effect. The specialty, we mentioned before, the Ishbitzer Rebbe. Ishbitzer Rebbe, he fasted every day for over 40 years. He had so many maladies, passed away in his 60s. They say he had a premonition that the Holocaust is coming. And he was davening and trying to, mitigate the gzera, the decree, and everything He could. And he explains over here on our Gemara. Remember, Rabbi Yechina, Yeshua ben Karcha says, "Katz the b'chayai, you don't want me to live." So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi asked him, "Why do you live so long?" He says, "You don't want me to live." It's like, "Do you begrudge my years?" What does that mean? So Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha was telling him that a person has younger years and a person has older years. Smach bacher b'yaldosecha. Be happy if you, in your years of your youth, you never sin, because that will stand for you in your older years. He says, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha was saying that although I'm older and I have a long life, I don't have the koiches, the strength that I used to have when I was younger. When I was younger, I was able to be accomplished much, much more, it says, than I was accomplishing now. Although it says that the Torah scholar, the older they get, they become, wiser and better. It's interesting. Even the Marsha writes, "Bimei Chorfi," in the years of my youth, when I was my years of my sharp mind, when my mind was sharp. So that's what So this is what he was telling to Rebbe Nasi. He says, in your years of your youth, you have to take advantage and do as much as you can. And he's telling Rebbe Nasi, are you trying to be like me when you're old? You're begrudging that I'm old, then when I'm old, I'm Rebbe Karcha. If you want to do it, you have to work on yourself now. Don't wait for coming to my years. How could I come to your years? You got to start for it now, and don't wait for. And therefore, we're going to see later on. We asked him. We're going to learn this tomorrow. We asked him to give him a bracha, and the bracha that he gave was that you should have children like you, and your children should also be accomplished. Your children should be leaders, not when they're old, but also when they're young. Meaning that from your entire life, one should go in the ways of the Eibishter. So it is 11:57. And with this, we will pause for today. And I want to thank everybody for joining. From near and from far. Rabbi Hershel and Mike and Ramosha and Mr. Minsky.
I had an uncle. Every time he saw me, I was there. Just heard you say, he says, "Smach
Bacher b'yaldosecha."
Rejoice around you. How about a picture of a picture? You don't have to act a picture. Make a picture of that. It's still good.
Picture of a picture? Whatever works.
I need a picture. I need some pictures. What's it? I had one. I had the famous one. With the Pittsburgh Rebbe, and the Rebbe is young at that time.
Yeah.
Do this together.
Hello.
Thanks. And I want to see which customers. Customers running. There's. Yes. I would.
Did you get your card, V?